Hello, and good morning. Hello, good morning, everyone. Good morning, James, and welcome to our Sunday live podcast. I'm Greg Piskazup, joined by James Wyatt, and today we're thrilled to have Rebecca Hill from Align Inside with us. We'll explore how understanding your subconscious mind and human design can transform your entrepreneurial journey. So stay tuned for insights and achieving success. Grab a coffee, sit down, get relaxed, and enjoy this podcast. It's going to be absolutely amazing. I'm super excited. James, how are you today?
I'm very well, actually. I'm super excited. Well, good morning, Greg. Good morning, audience. Can't wait to see Rebecca. This is my opportunity to get a bit woohoo. Greg, we're going to go down that road that he likes to pull me back towards normality, but we're off down woohoo lane with Rebecca. Can't wait. Really excited about this show.
Absolutely. And today, our guest, guest of honor is Rebecca Hill. An expert in human design, combining ancient wisdom and modern science to help individuals unlock their full potential. But I won't say too much. It's best if Rebecca will introduce herself and tell exactly what this special, unique abilities she possesses. So please help me welcome to the stage Rebecca Hill. Good morning, Rebecca.
Good morning, both. It's lovely to see you. It's my honor. Thank you very much for asking me to join you.
Oh, amazing. Absolutely amazing. Rebecca, could you please introduce yourself and tell us and tell the audience what it is that you're doing?
So I'm a human design coach and a transformational hypnotherapist. So what I do is I help people to basically discover who they came here to be. Their very true, authentic, aligned self. And I help them do that through using human design, but also uncovering any subconscious blocks that they may have, where they may have been conditioned, and use rapid transformational therapy as a tool to get them back into alignment, to overcome those limiting beliefs, and just allow them to live a life of success, ease, and flow.
Wow. Very powerful. There were a few things there that you said. We're gonna go and delve deeper into those, and how brilliant that is. Last week we had emotional intelligence, and this week we're gonna look into a human design with Rebecca. Super excited. And I know this is James, absolutely the field of love. So just James, hold on to your chair. Rebecca, could you tell us about your journey and what inspired you to dig deeper into that field of human design?
So my background actually was in the NHS for many years. I've worked in the health services, both in the NHS and privately for many years. I worked as an anaesthesia associate, so very medical environment, lots of very sick people. And while I loved what I did, there was always sort of this something that was not quite right, something that was missing. I was very much living in a victim mentality. I heard you guys talking on your podcast last week about this, moving from a victim mindset to a growth mindset. And I was basically walking around asleep. I was not consciously aware of my feelings or manifestation or attraction or any of that good stuff. And then I got pregnant with my son, and I was actually very unwell for my pregnancy. I was bedbound for pretty much most of it, with what's called hyperemesis, which, if any of you ladies are watching, it's pretty horrendous. You are, constantly sick, nausea. It was just horrendous, like not just morning sickness. So I was very much forced, and I know we had this conversation before we started about like illness and how illness kind of slows us down almost, I believe, as a way to make us really look inwards at ourselves. And so I spent the best part of 9 months having to go inwards and really looking at myself. It brought up a lot of old traumas, a lot of old past wounds for me. And after my son was born, I had to really evaluate whether I was going to go back to the NHS because there was COVID and everything was going on there. And a lot of my colleagues were very much engrossed in, looking after really sick patients, and I didn't want to add to that burden of, sort of supporting me and going back to work. So yeah, I had to do a lot of work, had to really dig deep as to what I wanted to do with my life. And I then started this journey of personal development. And since then, I've spent thousands of hours, thousands of pounds as well on learning about manifestation, money mindset, energetics, emotional intelligence. And obviously ended up doing the therapies that I'm doing. And both the modalities that I share with people are modalities that I have experienced myself. And when we get to the human design part, I'll talk to you a little bit more about that. But part of my own unique human design is to go and try lots of things out and then share with people what works. And so that's why I'm really excited today, because I'm like, this stuff works. And I really want to share this secret weapon with everyone.
Brilliant.
You read my mind, actually, Rebecca. The word that popped into my head, it's secret. It's like the secret, and it's explaining it to others that anything's possible, isn't it? But what we see through our eyes, that surety, that knowing, that because it does work. It does work. That real driving force, that frequency that we are projecting, really does attract those things to us. So that was going to be the word I was going to use. How do you explain the secret to people? I think that was really where I was going with that.
And funny you say that, because I feel like a lot of people read that book, don't they? The Secret, the book, as a starting place about the law of attraction. But I think ultimately, gosh, I could go so deep into this, but ultimately, if you think about your brain, so I think the mind is a really good place to start when you're looking at all of this work. And I think it's certainly where I began, was like, how can I improve my mindset? But the mind and body work together. And the thing that I have learned through human design is really, that we are energetic beings. We have auras, and how we interact with other people will affect our outcomes, and what we're projecting out through resonance, is going to come back to us in the same way. So I think the mind is a really good place to start, because I don't know if you've read a lot of like Joe Dispenza's work, but it's all about coherence. And this is why meditation and hypnosis and all of these things are so powerful, because in slowing down your brainwave state, you become more coherent with your own energy. And when you master your own energy as well as your mind, then that's where the magic really starts to happen. So, you can master your mindset, and that's one thing at a very superficial level. But if you can do the two together, then, this is the unspoken language. The energy that we're putting out is the unspoken language. So to explain, were you asking me to explain
it was just agreeing with you that when you know the secret, and it's how can you tell others? It's almost like that they have a veil over their ears. They can't quite hear what you're trying to say, because it's so sure to us. So that was really what it was. It's when you know.
Yes.
And you have this ability and skill to tell others. That's essentially what it is. But the question that I was going to ask you as well was, the Joe Dispenza is a really, really good place to start, because a lot of people have a scientific mind.
Yes.
Want it to be proved scientifically, but and I think Joe crosses that woohoo and scientific approach really, really well, doesn't he? So
he does. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about the Joe Dispenza way of thinking and your way of thinking, because I think that's really important.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing to say is, going back to what you said about the secret and sharing with people about what we know, what we're learning. And I think everybody's on that different stage of climbing up the mountain, right? We're all at different stages, but it's all about grabbing the person behind you by the hand and taking them with you and guiding them up that mountain. But if the person isn't ready to receive that, they're not quite ready to hear what you have to say. There is this, I don't know whether you've read anything in Kabbalah, but Kabbalah is an element of human design, and they talk about the universe being the creator and we are the vessel to receive. And as you said, there is this veil between us and it's about us being able to have the capacity to receive. And so sometimes I think we have to accept that some people aren't quite ready to hear that. But I think all we can do is talk about these things and raise awareness about these things. And when people are ready to listen, they will. That's the thing. And again, if you think about the energy that we're putting out, that ripple effect, eventually that they will adjust to that frequency. The higher our frequency will be the most powerful one, and eventually they will calibrate to that frequency. And then what you said about, the woo-woo and Joe Dispenza and stuff, and it's funny because at the beginning, like you, I come from a very sciencey background, very medical background. And for me, it was like, I have to understand this, like in a sciencey way. And that's why I love the work that I'm doing, because it's sort of combining the two. So where I'm doing transformational, like subconscious work, there is a science to it. You are growing new neural pathways in somebody's brain in order to change the beliefs that they have about themselves. So there is, we can understand brain waves, and we can understand how they slow down and how we're more suggestible in hypnosis and in meditation. So we can plant those really good seeds of, powerful beliefs that we want to have. But yeah, the woo-woo side, I feel that there is becoming more and more evidence to actually suggest that it's not woo-woo actually at all, that there is, a lot of like the slit test theories and things like that. There's a lot to suggest that we actually, that there is stuff to back this stuff up that we're talking about. It's not just we're all gone crazy.
Rebecca, one of the things I like to say to people is, close your eyes and imagine your last win. When was it you were really excited about something that went well, and you can feel the hairs on your neck go? That to me is the beginning of a higher frequency. That is where you can be all the time, or most of the time. And we talk about energy and frequency and what we attract. It truly is a frequency, isn't it? It's where we are in our lives reflects that frequency. So I just want to say I completely agree with that. And even Joe Dispenza says that the very smallest particle we are of just a vibration. At the end, we might be able to touch our arms and feel our solid bodies, but actually ultimately we are pure vibration. And we can control that vibration. So I just find it amazing, and I completely agree with you there.
And one of the things I always say to myself, and whenever I'm, if I feel like I'm having a challenging day, is that I just remind myself that I'm just spinning on a rock in space, right? Like that is exactly what we're doing. We forget that, that is exactly what's happening. We get so entrenched in what we're doing, but there is something far greater than us going on. So it just kind of makes me chuckle, that statement. It just brings me back down to earth.
I've got a question about your personal insights and experiences. So what have you learned about yourself through the human design, and how has this impacted your personal and professional life?
So human design was a tool I came across through when I trained as a mindset coach. It was sort of part of the program where I trained, and I sort of listened a little bit to it. And I think this happens a lot to people. They listen a little bit and they go, oh yeah, that's interesting. And then they put it down for a while, and then something just clicks one day and you go, wow, like this is really, really accurate. So to explain, so human design basically it's a combined science and spiritual tool. The idea is that when we're born, we have a very unique blueprint, and I mean so unique that like nobody on this planet will have the same as you. So there are some fantastic tools out there like wealth dynamics and things like that, but this is so specific to you. And And not to go too deep into the science, but basically the sun is a star, right? And the sun is emitting what's called neutrinos. And neutrinos are subatomic particles. We can't see them. We're just swimming in this ocean of neutrinos. And when we were born, depending on where the planets were, we will have had this imprint of neutrinos that pass through us, that also pass through us in the womb when we're about 6 months of age. And that imprint is very, very specific to you. And what that means is it will determine what your unique gifts are, what your aura will be like, and where you will be most likely to be subject to conditioning. So when you look at your chart, the first thing, it just looks like a whole load of triangles and lines, and it just looks really weird. You know, you can download it. You can go to mybodygraph.com and download your chart there. And at very, very top level, you'll be divided into what's known as an energy type. So that is the very top level, so that you will share an energy type with somebody else. So for me, I'm a generator. There is 5 types. So you have a manifestor, a generator, a manifesting generator, a projector, and a reflector. And each of those energy types will have a different kind of aura and a different way in which they best interact with other people's energies. And so for me, as a generator, my energy type is here to spill out energy. It's to actually to be a life force for other people. So one of the first things I addressed is that a generator often will have people-pleasing tendencies. So I very much used to be like, I have to get people to like me. I need to be approved. You know, I need this approval of other people all the time. And so doing the subconscious work on self-love, self-acceptance, confidence, you know, letting go of people-pleasing, authenticity, these are all the kind of subconscious things that we may have learned about ourselves. So for me, I've worked a lot on those things. And what that does then is it enables me to fill up my own cup. And I, you know, it's a phrase that's used a lot, but actually for a generator, it's so important, because if I'm not lighting myself up and making myself happy, that's going to affect other people around me. So in business, for example, if I'm not lighting myself up in life and in business, I am not going to attract clients, because my aura is repelling. It's not attracting. So that's the first thing, is you can look at your energy type and you can see how you're best here to engage with other people. And the 2 things that I would say, if people want to go away and learn the most from, like, the top line things that you can do, is to follow what's known as your strategy and your authority. So for me as a generator, it's to respond, which again, like, it completely goes against everything we're taught in business, that you go out, you grind, you hustle, you chase for business, you do all these things to go and grab these opportunities. But actually, as a generator, the strategy is to respond. So this is like a hell of a lot of conditioning process to unravel, right? Because your mind is like, no, but I need to do it this way. But actually, the strategy is to wait for those things to come. And that's the hardest bit, because you have to take a step back and go, right, I've just got to wait for those opportunities to come. And then use what's your authority. And this is known as your inner authority. And this is how we make decisions. And again, as an entrepreneur, and not just as an entrepreneur, in life is a series of decision making. It's just one decision after another. And if you're making the right decisions for you, you will be attracting more and more and more of those lovely opportunities. So for me, you know, it's, does this light me up? Yes or no? If it's I'm not really sure, then it's a no, you know, and I have to be very clear on that. And that allows me to attract more opportunities. So like when you reached out about the podcast, it's like, yes, I want to respond. It gives me a like sacral, yes, this is really something I want to do.
And where we can find out more about these different energy types, how can the audience go and learn about it?
So I have a blog on my website, actually. So if they go to alignedinsights.co.uk, if you go to my blog page, you'll see actually that there's a blog fairly recently about specifically how entrepreneurs can look at their energy type, where you can go and find your own chart, and how you can start to look at your own chart to see what, how you best operate. Yeah.
Brilliant. Rebecca, from what I learned about you and your website and your blog, I've got a really good question that perhaps could help a lot of people watching and listening to this. Could you please help me understand what is a body graph chart in human design, and how can help entrepreneurs, use it to their advantage?
Yeah. Gosh, that's a really loaded question, because it goes so deep, so deep. The body graph is like the top line. It's the most simplified version of who you are, and what your gifts are, what your energy type is, where you have what's known as an open or an undefined center. So you'll see these little triangles all over, and those are called energy centers. And if you see that they're not colored in, that means that they're either undefined or they're open. And so this is where the work that I'm doing is really focusing in on. So I'm looking at your chart and I'm saying, okay, where are you undefined? Because where you're undefined or open is where you are most likely to be conditioned. This is where you're most likely to have a fear about yourself. So as an example, there is one center called the spleen. The spleen is the oldest energy center. It is to do with intuition. It's to do with fear. It's to do with survival, basically, because that was primitively like our most important thing to do, is to stay alive. So if you have that undefined, you're going to be more open to people who have a defined spleen. Okay, so you will pick up off other people's energy. So, this is why, as a really good example, I think of like when I went to Simon Zucchi's events, we leave those events, we feel so pumped. Yeah, we feel so full of like, yeah, I can do this. And then you get home, and a few days later, you suddenly realize that you're discharging all of that energy from other people. And suddenly you're like, maybe I don't have that motivation to do X, Y, Z, So, and again, but that's fine, because you can healthily use other people's energy in a really positive way. But it's knowing what is yours and what's yours to carry, and where are you most likely to be conditioned. So we're conditioned by our parents. This is where the subconscious mind comes in. From the ages of 0 to 7 mostly is when most of our subconscious beliefs will be formed about ourselves. So, maybe how they dialogued about money, or how they dialogued about success, or maybe you won't be liked if you're successful, or, there's lots of these fears that can start to come up. So somebody with an undefined spleen is going to be like really picking up on those fears. And so that's where doing the hypnosis, doing this kind of like deep inner work, inner subconscious work, can help bring you back into alignment. You start to recognize, actually, was that my fear to carry in the first place? And bring yourself back into alignment, so that you can operate, as I say, with this like success, ease and flow in not just in business, but in every way of your life, parenting, life, business.
I just wanted to ask Rebecca, because I'm a strong believer in our unique ability, and that's the thing that we need to know and understand and find. What is our unique ability? What are we really good at? What can we give to others? Service to others is a big thing for me. And another whole subject entirely, and something that I strongly believe in. So where do we get that? When do we realize that we are here for a reason? We have a unique ability, and how do we tap into that? Because that voice in our head is so quiet, so what advice do you give people to start listening to? I'm not like an inner voice, but you know what I mean. It's that the ego, the monkey mind, is so loud.
Yes,
it's the quiet voice that we need to hear, isn't it? So, you got any advice to people on how they can work on finding their unique ability?
Yeah, because sometimes that intuition, it's literally a whisper. It's there and then it's gone. And so the more we can start to listen to it, even just like making a notes page in your phone, if you get a little intuitive hit, just start making a note of it. Just start, and even just that process of, I'm listening to you, I'm listening to that part of me, will allow it to speak that little bit more often to you. But I think one of the interesting concepts that I have found most interesting about human design is that actually our decision making does not come from the mind. Our mind is actually not here to make decisions. It's really our bodies is where the wisdom is. And if you actually think about, well, firstly, from a scientific point of view, the brain is connected by lots of neural pathways down through into your heart and also down into your gut. So that's the first thing. It's like, well, why is this all so uniquely connected? And so when somebody says, I get a gut feeling, or I felt it in my heart, like that's because there really is something going on there and it's speaking to your mind. So that's the first thing. But in human design, it's about returning to a state of before our minds were so developed. Our prefrontal cortex has become so developed now that, which is amazing as a human race, but it's actually we're overusing it. And really moving into our bodies is where we can start to learn to trust ourselves a lot more. So for example, you maybe heard me speak about strategy and authority. Authority is the inner authority. It's how you best specifically make decisions. So if you go to your chart and find out, what is my authority? So for somebody, it might be that they have a sacral authority, and that might be, does this light me up? Yes or no? Do I feel a visceral pull in my body? Does this pull? Am I literally like, oh yeah, leaning forward in my chair when somebody's talking to me? Am I getting that physical reaction? And if it's a yes, then it's right for you. And if it's a not sure, it's a no. For me, for example, I have what's called the solar plexus defined. And that means, which is quite interesting listening to your talk about emotions last week, because actually we are quite conditioned that we shouldn't make decisions with our emotions, but actually for an emotional authority person in human design, we do make decisions with our emotions. But it comes with a caveat that we are not in either the high or a low of a wave. It's called an emotional wave. So if you have an emotional authority and you're in the high of a wave, it's really learning to recognize, okay, the decision making is not in the now. You should always sleep on something, and then the next morning, like, just say to somebody, I'll get back to you, and there's a lot of power in that. It makes an emotional authority person very attractive. It makes them, if somebody says, I'm just going to think about it, you're like, no, but I want the decision now. It's quite a powerful thing to do. And that way, from an energetic point of view, you're not throwing out chaos. You're making a decision from a very calm and collected place. So it's getting out of the mind. My best advice is, if you ever feel yourself like busy in your mind, what do I need to do about this, that, and the other? It's almost like feel the energy just drop down into your body. And it's a very grounding technique, but it will also help you to better make decisions as well.
That is so good, Rebecca. I mean, is this the essence of why we love nature? Because I'm a strong believer in that we've stopped using our senses. We're just using our eyes most of the time. We're on our phones, we're on our gadgets. Everything seems to be eye orientated, but we've forgotten our other senses. And when we're in nature, especially, I find that with waterfalls and flowing water, you can feel the breeze, the temperature, you can smell, you can sense. And that is would you say that that's why I enjoy that? Because I'm using my senses, because I'm using my body to make decisions. Is that why I enjoy that?
Well, I think, like nature, everything has a frequency. And if you think about like trees in particular, actually have a very slow frequency. So I think one of the key things being around trees and things like that in particular, it almost like if you think about resonance and how the frequencies sort of match, I think that's a big reason why nature is so calming to us.
Good point.
But coming back to instincts and things like that, if you actually think about it, before our prefrontal cortex was really developed, we were like Neanderthal stage. we would not last 5 minutes out in the wild if we were just thinking with our mind, oh, what do I do now? Like, you'd be dead in seconds. So if you actually think about it, it makes sense. Like, yes, we should be following our bodies and our wisdom and our intuition. You look at a wild animal, they're not sitting there thinking about, what do I do about this? They're in the moment, they're following their instincts, and they know that animal's coming after them, and that it is right for them to run. So yeah, but I agree. I love nature too, and I think we should all be getting way more outdoor activity than we do.
Absolutely. On that note, look at future perspectives. How do you see the field of human design evolving in the coming years, especially in a relation to entrepreneurship?
Oh, I'm very excited about this because I'm still studying this human design. Like, it's so deep, and I truly believe that we are moving into an era where people are becoming more and more dissatisfied with inauthenticity. People want connection, especially after COVID, but they don't want false connection. They want people who are fully authentic. And that's where the magic lies, honestly. That is where clients that I've worked with, I've seen huge shifts in them through letting go of people-pleasing tendencies and things like that, to stepping into really a true authentic version of themselves, and suddenly, attracting a whole load of followers on Instagram, for example, or getting more business, or whatever it might be. I think when we are in full alignment, that's where the magic can happen, because like I said, it's that frequency that you're putting out is what you're going to get back. But yes, in business, I feel like there's going to be this big shift towards it being far more individual. I think when you look at, a really good example that I could give you is cold DMs, right? If you think about reaching out to people on cold DMs, which, by the way, I friggin' hate. Like, if anybody thinks about sending me a cold DM, just don't, because I just do not like. But that's not to say, like, cold DMs for somebody at some stage, it worked amazingly well, right? It worked for them because it was in alignment for them. And so I think this is the thing where you've got business programs and you've got coaching packages and things like that going on. There is no one size fits all. And that's the thing, people have very specific needs. And so me telling somebody, oh, well, cold DMs work for me, so it's going to work for you. It doesn't work like that, because that person's needs are going to be very much more unique, than yours. So yes, I think it's starting. I think it's, these things take a bit of time, but I'm very excited to be at the forefront of that, because I think people who are forward thinking and open-minded, and people like yourselves, that we're very open to new ways of doing things. I feel really excited, because it's going to be a wonderful time of change.
I love that word, authenticity and specificity. I was just thinking of those two words, and you mentioned both of them. Being authentic with yourself. It starts with you, doesn't it? And everything that we could ever want is within us to begin with. And I love the way that you. And I think that modern business is about leadership that is authentic and has direction and values, spiritualism, values. Authenticity. I think that really is a modern entrepreneur thing, as Greg was alluding to. Just fantastic to hear all of that. I mean, there's so many subjects there that we could delve into. Completely agree with that word, authenticity.
Yeah, because people. Sorry, go for it.
With your Align Insights, do you have any new projects or initiative that you're currently working on?
Specifically related to human design, you mean? Or
yes.
Yeah, so So I'm running a program at the moment. Well, it's a very new program that I've sort of put together specifically to combine these two techniques that I use. So for a while, I've been running them separately.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just kind of dawned on me. It was like, wow, like these two together is just like the most potent combination. So running a program called Align and Accelerate. So align is become more aligned with your true self. The accelerate part is the rapid transformational therapy part. And basically people can come, they can have their chart read. So you get a reading of your chart. You look at where the defined and undefined centers are. We look at where you're more conditioned. We look at, like James, you were saying about purpose and like, who are we here to be? We can look at that. Everybody has in their chart what's known as an incarnation cross. So we can look at like, what is your unique purpose? What are you here to do? And then we have 1 month together on a rapid transformational therapy package. And that's where we do deep subconscious hypnotherapy work to release any blocks, any limiting beliefs that you have around being in your full alignment. So that's an exciting project now that I'm really awakening myself to, you know, as well, realizing how golden, you know, it is.
Amazing. Can
Align
I
and
just
accelerate.
a question? Greg, you just touched on that one word that I'd love to just discuss quickly, and it's a great word for me, flow. What is flow in your mind? Because flow is really important to entrepreneurs, because you know it's a great place to be. Can you just give us your take in on flow, please, and how it has an impact in our business?
Yeah, and I think so. Ultimately, flow is where you're so engrossed and enjoying what you're doing that you almost just you lose track of time. You know, that you're just so, yeah, I mean, as the word describes, you are in flow. Everything is flowing freely. You're not fighting or resisting against who you are not. So in human design, it is your not self. If you are your not self theme, you will feel either, like if you're a generator, you'll feel frustration. If you're a manifestor, you'll feel anger. You know, so there's lots of different sort of not self themes. When you're in flow, you are your true self theme. So I think, again, and I'm still going to bring it back to authenticity. I think it is your true, authentic self. And so when you're in flow, you feel most comfortable because it is who you are. It's who you're meant to be. But also, I think states of flow, if you're thinking about your aura, you'll be attracting the right opportunities into your aura as well. You will be attracting those amazing opportunities that are right for you into your aura, because it will become magnetic. It will just be, you know, what is meant for you rather than what you're forcing or trying to hustle. Yeah.
And in business, if we think about an entrepreneur trying to do all these different roles, different caps, what I learned early on was letting go of the stuff I didn't like doing, I wasn't very good at.
Yeah.
That is good for, they enjoy that. So they're in their flow and you're in your flow. And the more that you're in your flow, the more others, your energy is vibrating, your frequency is lifting, you get more opportunity, more abundance, more manifesting. It is all about letting go to get in your flow, isn't it? It really is.
It is. It is. And when you talk about gifts and talents, this is the wonderful thing about human design is when it's about self-acceptance. It's about, like you said, looking at, well, not necessarily focusing what I'm not good at, but okay, what am I good at? What are my gifts? And then I can just let go of the rest, you know? And it's looking at yourself and going, God, aren't I a bloody amazing human being? But then looking at somebody else and saying, aren't they a bloody amazing human being as well? Like everybody's got these, the whole point of human design is that we've each got these amazing talents and gifts, but they all come together and work together. And so the more we can do that, the more then we'll just like be in harmony and flow together.
And collaboration. I mean, when we realize that, when we understand our flow points, other people are flowing as well. That collaboration is like 1 + 1 = 10. It's just such a powerful thing, isn't it?
Powerful. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%.
Rebecca, can you recommend any resources or tools for those who want to dive deeper into understanding their human design?
Yes, so as I mentioned, that blog I think would be a really good place to start on my website, just to give you like a top line overview of energy types, of examples of how, you know, you can just make small shifts. The mybodygraph.com I think is the best place to go and get your chart. You know, it may not make a lot of sense to begin with. So I think if you just focus on, okay, what is my energy type? And what are the two numbers? So for me, I'm a 3/5, and that is called your profile. And that is a lot about what your personality traits are, you know. That's a good place to start. Look at your energy type, your profile. There are some great resources like people you can follow on Instagram. Obviously, I've got my account there, but you've got other people who like the Jovian Archive. That is the original source for Ra Uru Hu, he was the founder of human design. There is this amazing, I mean, if you really want to go deep, I got this through the other day, but it is literally like the Bible. I mean, it goes so deep into you know, and this is, as you know, you were explaining about, oh, I've got to hold it. This is what a chart looks like. And the gates around it are sort of related to the I Ching, the Chinese I Ching. And so that's kind of what you'll see, minus the ring around it. You'll just see this. And so you can start to look at, like, I'm trying to do this. It's weird when it's reversed. But yeah, you can look at these are your energy centers here and here and here. And so that's the first thing you need to kind of look at. And then, yeah, if they want to go deeper, you can get a reading. You get a human design reading, which I can do for anyone that's interested. And then if then things come up specifically for you and you're like, okay, well, yeah, maybe I am afraid to be a bit more authentically myself, or maybe I'm people pleasing, or I have a fear about making money and then losing it, or like it could be anything. And sometimes with subconscious stuff, we don't always know.
It's just that word, isn't it? Understanding ourselves a bit better. What could, that's such a great thing to do. Spend some time understanding ourselves a bit better. Instead of racing off into the future with our busy days, just spending some time with ourselves. And then, you know, I was going to ask you a question, if you don't mind me, and I find this quite fascinating. What's a typical day for you? How does a day start for you? I mean, I know how my day starts. I'm very much into good habits, because they are so important. For example, you know, for me, my monkey mind is I don't want to hear my monkey mind until at least 10 o'clock. I want to be in my zone till then. Certainly I don't look at any of my mobile phone or any distractions. So it'd be okay to ask what a typical day would be for you, and whether you have habits.
So the first thing to say is I'd love to say that I wake up when I wake up, because actually that would really light me up, but I have a 4-year-old, so so it doesn't really work out like that. So I tend to wake up more with like a jolt of like, oh God, here we are again. But no, I think the first thing that I definitely have changed is the way in which I wake up with an appreciation for life. And again, it's looking at, like, this is a gift. Like, I get another day here and what am I going to do with this day? So I definitely spend time doing that when I first wake up. I am not, and this is where I think, you know, we're so different. It's what I love. You know, I love the fact that Greg is up at 4 or 5 a.m. Like, I love that about you. And I'm like, take my hat.
We know he's up. You know, when we wake up, we know Greg's up.
He told me. But for me, if I was up at 4 or 5 a.m., I'd be as miserable as hell. Like, that is not right for me. And I recognize that's not right for me. And I think the minute that we go, because I could look at Greg and go, oh, but why am I not like that? Why do I not get up at 4 or 5? Why do I not do this? And, you know, I could really sit there and feel guilt and shame and all those lower frequencies, but actually that's not right for me. So I think you said about self-awareness, but I think self-awareness and self-acceptance is really, really valuable, because the minute I realize, well, no, that isn't right for me. And when I look at my human design chart, this is quite a deep concept, but you'll have 4 arrows at the top, and they will either point left or right. And so if they point left, you will tend to find that you work better with structure and strategy and everything very formally planned out. So you might be somebody that's like, yeah, this is what I'm doing with my day, and that works really well. For me, I'm known as what's a quad right. So I'm like totally passive. I'm meant to sort of almost just allow things to come to me, for the information to come to me, and then respond to it, versus like having a very formal plan. I mean, of course, I work in business. I have client bookings through the day. I have to have some kind of structure to my day of, this is what I'm going to do. But I think in the way that I go about marketing or business, like it will always be in alignment with my values or what I know is right for me, versus what I think I should be doing because so and so is doing it that way. So yeah, and then in terms of like my day, I will always get out in nature every single day. I'm very fortunate. I live in beautiful Cornwall, and so I will always get out every day. Ooh, thumbs up. And I will often go by the ocean, because as you said about being near the water, I find that very expansive for my mind and for my heart to open up to more information and intuition. And yeah, I mean, I'm what you would call, I suppose, I probably go against all of the traditional ways of doing things, or how we think we should be doing it. And it's been very difficult for me to uncondition, like decondition that process. It can be quite challenging to do it, but when you do it and you have that self-acceptance, it's a wonderful place to be, because you're not pushing or grinding or trying to be something you're not.
And then nature is your form of meditation, is it?
It is, yeah, it is. I do meditate as well. So I actually prefer to meditate at night before bed. And the reason I prefer to is because once the day starts, and because I'm a quad right, if you have arrows that point right, you take information in a lot. You don't realize that you're doing it, but you're taking in a lot wider field of energy than somebody that's maybe more structured and very focused. So for me, once the day starts, I have a lot of information coming in. And so I find it harder actually to switch my mind off until the end of the day, because then I've done all of those tasks. Everything is done. There's nothing else I can do today apart from focus on me and meditating. And I do a lot of self-hypnosis as well. Self-hypnosis is very, very powerful. Yeah.
What about
so like, for example, you can make your own sort of affirmations or recordings, and when you're falling asleep, your brainwave state is starting to drift into a slower brainwave state, so your mind is more suggestible. So all of those things that you want will be going into your mind.
And is there journaling in your life? Is there vision boards, feng shui? Is there anything else that
you name it. So again, because I'm a 3/5 in human design, I try all the things. I mean, I have crystals on my desk. I have, I wear crystals around my neck, yeah, I journal. I do journal, but I don't journal every day. And that's okay for me. Like some days I might feel like meditation is good for me. Some days I might feel like journaling is good. Some days I might just feel like putting music on really loud and just dancing like a lunatic around my kitchen is good for me. So again, this is where we become so specific of like, what is right for me? Is it that I think I should be journaling every day because that's what people tell you should be doing? Or is it that actually today that's not quite what I need? Maybe a bit of tapping, EFT tapping, that might be, beneficial. So it just, yeah, we're so unique. We are all so unique in what we need. But
Yeah.
yeah, all the
I'm
things,
very much the same.
I do all the things.
I'm very much the same, Rebecca. Yeah, when you say I'm journaling, but not every day. Sometimes I feel like, meditation is right, but sometimes just music
Yeah,
or a walk. Just go
yeah,
outside and go for a walk. And me waking up at 5 a.m., it gives me the feeling of I already won a day before everyone else started.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so that's what I'm doing. It's just giving me the boost of like I've done all these things already, and it's like 8 o'clock, and I'm thinking like I'm ready for anything.
Mm,
Anything
yeah,
just come my way, all the
mm,
troubles. I'm ready now.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
ready. So that's
absolutely.
what I'm doing.
Yeah, and I love that about you. I just think it's so wonderful that you found a way that works really well for you. What I will say, one thing that I will say that I think, and I don't want to use the word should because I don't think anybody should do anything, but I think meditation for sure, or hypnosis for sure, because of the world that we live in, because it is so hectic and crazy, and we have so many things to think about, is that I think meditation and hypnosis is a really good practice because of slowing the brain waves down, because of that coherence between the mind and the energy fields, and trying to sort of bring ourselves to a calm, grounded place rather than, that frantic sort of energy. So yeah, I try and do it as often as I can. But then I don't beat myself up if I don't do it. I'm not hard on myself if I don't. And grounding is another thing you said about being
Mm.
out in the morning, barefoot on the ground, on the sand, on the grass, like that is so good for you. Discharging those negative particles is so powerful, like scientifically as well. It's to do with free radicals, isn't it? I'm not like an expert on grounding, but it's we get a lot of inflammation in our bodies through stress, through sugar, through environmental toxins and things like that. And so grounding is very, very good for
So
tackling that.
just quickly, I mean, we covered so many subjects. What's your, I mean, I love going outside. Very lucky that I can just go outside bare feet. I've got nature there. I go running very early in the morning with the dog
Yeah.
cross country running. There's no one around. I'm the only person on the planet. That's how I feel. I can shut my eyes without, banging into a tree. And what I've noticed is that the more I become aware of the energy around me, the more I feel energized. And sometimes I can feel, I'm getting it now, where you get that hairs, the buzz. I feel like Mother Earth is adding to my energy. What is all that about, Rebecca? Where does that energy come from, and why is it starting to become more and more in my life?
I think well, firstly, if you think about the mind body energy, like that energetics coherence that, like, Joe Dispenza talks a lot about, is that I think the more you become excuse me, the more you become integrated from mind and body and soul. You're taking care of your body because you're going for a run, you're looking after yourself, you're also taking care of your mind because you're giving yourself that time, you're giving yourself that gift of just time for you to clear your head. And we all know that exercise is really good for us, so you've got all those endorphins and positive hormones flowing and things like that. But I think in terms of connection to source, the Kabbalah principles talk a lot about, and again, Kabbalah is just like one element of human design, but it's something that, because it's in human design, that's why I've gone down that rabbit hole a little bit to learn more about it. But I think that the more we, again, thinking about us being the vessel, and the creation of whatever it is you believe in, God, universe, source, angel, however you look at things, we're all it. We are it. We are that energy source, that in the same way as the universe is, like, we are the universe. And so I think the more connected you are to yourself and your energy, the more connected you are to source. And so your vessel is opening up to receive more, which is why you're so bloody successful, James. You know, so but it is about, but it's about having that capacity to receive. And if we haven't learned the lessons that we need to learn, then we're not ready for that vessel to be filled, if that makes sense. There will still be lessons for us to learn.
The word, as you know, my soulful stays is a place to reconnect, and it is a reconnection. You've just reminded me, and that's what's beautiful about talking to other people about our experiences. We can always learn from somebody else, and you made me realize it is a reconnection. We are part of the universe. We are a spark of the Creator, wherever we believe, and any time that we can enhance that and grow that and feel that. That's the energy, isn't it? What a powerful place to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you're vibrating like that.
100%. But Rebecca, what would be 3 points, key nuggets, anything that you could give an audience to take away from today's podcast? 3 recommendations, if you could share with us.
Well, I think the first thing everybody needs to do is go look up your chart. Like, that's the first thing. I think go and look up your chart, find out what your energy type is, what your profile is. And then and the thing is with human design is, it's not, as Ra Uru, who founded it, said, it's not a system like to necessarily believe. So I'm not saying you have to believe in this. It's actually an experiment. So it's called the Human Design Experiment. And the idea is that you should go away and follow your strategy and authority. Just do it, try it for 2 weeks or a month even, and just see what changes it brings into your life. So just as a top line reminder, strategy is how you interact with everybody else, how you go about the world and you interact with others. And then your authority is how you make decisions. So just try it for like a couple of weeks or maybe a month and just see. You've got nothing to lose by trying. So that's the first thing. Go and get your chart. I think the other thing I would say is look at maybe your incarnation cross. So that is your purpose, so what you're here to do, and see if you're in alignment with it or not. And whether, it doesn't necessarily mean that, I shouldn't be in property anymore. Like that, it doesn't mean that. It's how are you doing property? How are you going about your business? How can I bring it more in alignment with what I'm here to do? And then finally, I think the other thing I would say is maybe for people to start exploring more about the subconscious mind. We didn't really talk very much about that today, but really explore like where you're noticing patterns. So bring self-awareness to your patterns of behavior, and where is it that you're noticing that you have fears or limiting beliefs. And if you can't figure them out at a conscious level, which is only 5% of how we operate, the chances are that it's a subconscious belief. And so if you're noticing patterns and you can't change them through affirmations and mindset work, then go a bit deeper and see if you can do some subconscious work on it to heal it and get past it. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. Well,
we need 2 hours at least.
I know. I could just. Well, this is it. When I'm lit up, that's the problem. I could just keep going, all day. So, but it's
So
great,
good.
like when you get to chat with people who are so, open-minded and into this kind of stuff too. It's great.
Well, we've covered so much today, and I'm taking the notes as we go. But like, wow. We need 6 hours to just go through each individual, aspect what we've covered today. But this is it. We are not here to give you everything in depth that me and James, and lovely audience. We are here to inspire you, to bring on every week an amazing guests like Rebecca. You're absolutely gorgeous, Rebecca, in every way. And in your heart, you're a beautiful person. So that's what we want to do. And we are very grateful for you to joining us this week. But unfortunately, we have to summarize this week, episode and enjoy this beautiful Sunday with our friends and families.
Yes. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, I agree. Like, we could talk all day, but yeah, gonna be next time.
100%. James, is there anything else that you would like to add to today's show?
I think that Rebecca's reminded me it's all about finding our unique ability to reconnect and to question the no's.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else who joined us today in the comments, thank you. Enjoy your Sunday. Rebecca, thank you for joining us. James, thank you, Mehmet, and have a great Sunday, everyone, and goodbye. See you next week. Bye-bye.